I think there's a type of procrastination that's really, really difficult to spot because sometimes it doesn't feel like procrastination. Sometimes it feels really productive. Sometimes that procrastination is actually learning. You watch another YouTube video, read another article, watch another podcast, buy another book, and the whole time you feel like you're getting closer. And I've definitely done this, especially with things I care about. When something really matters to you, you think, I don't want to mess it up, so I'll just learn a bit more first. And that sounds completely reasonable. Let's say you want to start making videos, so you learn about cameras, lighting, editing, grading. Then someone mentions lenses, so now all of a sudden you need to start researching lenses. 6 months later, you now know what aperture means, you know what white balance you need to use, you know what frame rate you need to have, you know what microphone you need to buy. But there's just one small problem. You haven't actually made anything yet. And I think that's where something interesting happens. Because learning was helping at the beginning because you genuinely didn't know what you were doing. But somewhere along the way, learning stopped becoming preparation and started becoming protection. Because all the time while you're researching how to make a good video, you don't have to find out if you can actually make a good one. And those are two completely different things. Imagine you wanted to learn how to swim. You could buy the best book on swimming that's ever been written. You could learn exactly how your arms should move, when to breathe, when to kick. You could spend 6 months watching Olympic swimmers in slow motion. Eventually, you might know more about swimming than half the people at your local pool, but there's still something that you wouldn't know. What it feels like to be in the water. And the moment you actually get in, you would discover something that none of those videos could teach you. Maybe you panic when water gets in your nose, maybe your legs sink, maybe that breathing technique that looked really simple on those videos actually turns out to be incredibly difficult in practice. But that's not evidence that you weren't ready. That's the lesson. Because now you've got something that information could never give you. Something happened, and now you can adjust. And I think there's loads of things in life that work like this. You can read all the books in the world about becoming a new parent, but eventually you're going to be faced with that baby crying at 3 a.m. You can research all you want about a new job role, but you're never really going to know how that job feels until you're sat at the desk doing it. You can spend hours on end trying to work out how to have a difficult conversation, trying to anticipate what they might say, trying to predict how you might respond. But then you actually have that conversation and something happens completely unexpected. Because reality doesn't follow the script that you prepared for it. At some point, more preparation can't solve that. You have to actually enter the situation and let the situation teach you. That's the distinction I've been finding really useful. Some questions are information questions. How does this work? What do I need? What are the basics? Learning is brilliant for those questions. But eventually the questions start to change. Am I actually good at this? Will I enjoy it? How will I cope and adapt when something goes wrong? And you'll be researching those questions forever because the answers aren't in the research. The answers are in the experience. And I think there's a reason we sometimes stay in that learning phase for a lot longer than we need to. Learning is safe. Starting isn't. If you're reading about starting a business, the business can't fail. If you're researching how to make videos, no one can dislike your video. If you're planning the difficult conversation, the other person can't reject what you're saying. The point is, nothing has actually been risked yet. And that's why this kind of procrastination can feel so convincing. Because it's not as if you're sat on the sofa lounging about doing nothing. You're taking notes, you're reading books, you're bolstering your knowledge. You can genuinely finish a day feeling like you've worked hard on your goal without ever getting closer to it. It's a bit like standing on the edge of a pool studying the water. You can learn an enormous amount stood on the side observing, but eventually the edge of the pool is the thing that's keeping you stuck. And to be clear, I'm not saying that preparation is pointless. Sometimes you genuinely aren't ready. Sometimes getting more information is actually the sensible thing to do. The point isn't to stop learning because that is still important. The point is to notice when the next piece of information is unlikely to change what you actually do. Because I think that's the moment the question needs to change. Instead of asking, what else do I need to know? Instead ask yourself, what can I only learn by starting? Maybe you make that first video and the audio sounds terrible. Well, good, you can learn from it and adjust. Maybe you apply for the job, have the interview, and you don't get it. Well, good, because now you've got feedback. Maybe you have the conversation, it goes completely differently to how you expected. Well, that's a good thing, because now you're learning from reality and not rehearsing possibilities. That's what experience gives you. Not certainty, but something much better: evidence. And I think that's the part we sometimes miss. You don't have to know everything before you begin. You just need to know enough for reality to start teaching you the rest. So the next time you find yourself reaching for one more book, one more podcast, one more article, another video, just stop and ask yourself something. Am I still learning because I need to know more, or because knowing more feels safer than finding out? Because there are some lessons you can never find in a book, some answers Google can't give you, some things that videos can't teach, some things you can only understand once you're actually in the water. At some point, you have to stop studying the pool and get in.